Who are the eyes and ears on the ground, serving Jamaicans daily to ensure the smooth running of the country? Yes, I'm sure you know. They are our public sector workers, men and women who make an invaluable contribution to the nation's development, earning the gratitude of the government and citizens. Welcome to this Tuesday's edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson. On today's pages, a look at how the public sector modernization program is enabling a more efficient and productive labor force. We also touch on how the government's economic reform program is improving the standard of living for many. And later, your right to know. We start things off with this message, followed by the news.
We want a productive Jamaica. We are not productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand.
Productivity, pathway to prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Good day, I'm Carrie-Ann Smith and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, June 9. Several stakeholders have come out in support of the Education Ministry's plan to place more GSET students in schools close to where they live. President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Heather Murray, tells JIS News that it is a move in the right direction. Jamaica Teachers Association President Doran Dixon says the JTA supports the general principle, but he is calling for dialogue with all stakeholders to settle any contentions that may arise. Meanwhile, Executive Director of the National Parenting Support Commission, Dr. Patrice Charles Freeman, says the policy could see parents benefiting from a reduction in transportation costs and less opportunities for negative things to occur. The Education Ministry is likewise hoping the policy will reduce absenteeism and improve the average national attendance rate, which is now 80 to 83%. When he made the announcement last week, Education Minister Reverend Ronald Thwaites said there would always be respect for parents' placement preferences. This week, he clarified that the new policy is to manually place those GSAT students who are not assigned to any of the institutions of their choice. This year's GSAT results are scheduled to be released the third week in June. The ministry says 75% of this year's cohort will be placed in high schools of their choice based on their grade performance. Government will be introducing stiffer penalties, including increased fines for tourism breaches. Tourism Minister Dr. Wickham McNeil says recommendations for changes to the Jamaica Tourist Board Act will be placed before Cabinet within the next 3 months. He was speaking recently at the 54th Annual General Meeting of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, JHTA. While acknowledging that most JHTA members were regulated, he said there were several persons operating within the sector who refused to be compliant. This, the minister said, placed the industry and brand Jamaica at significant risk, and tighter regulations were needed in order to safeguard the sustainability of the industry. Meanwhile, Jamaica has secured additional airline seats out of Europe in time for the start of the 2015-2016 winter tourist season and extending into the summer of next year. Tourism and Entertainment Minister Dr. Wickham McNeil says starting November 19, Thomas Cook Nordic Airline and its affiliate Ving Sweden will commence operating flights. They will fly from the Swedish city of Gothenburg via Oslo, Norway, to the Sangsta International Airport in Montego Bay. Dr. McNeil says they will operate fortnightly, bringing 2,907 passengers, all staying for 14 nights. And another Swedish airline, TUI Sweden, will commence weekly flights between that country's capital, Stockholm, and the Sangsta Airport, beginning in mid-December. Additional airlift seats have also been secured for 2016 out of Ireland. The Caribbean Maritime Institute, CMI, has unveiled a new system that will allow it to continue delivering international level certification for seafarers and other professionals in Jamaica and the wider region. CMI's whitelisted status with the International Maritime Organization is what endorses it to train and certify graduates at an international standard, but that is heavily dependent on the use of state-of-the-art simulators in training. To maintain that status, the school recently installed an upgraded suite of simulators and an alternative energy system. The $162 million project received the bulk of its funding, $135 million, from the Universal Service Fund. Minister of Science, Technology, Energy and Mining Philip Paulwell says that with this and other ventures, CMI is positioning itself to help Jamaica tap into the increased opportunities from the expansion of the Panama Canal.
This industry has the potential for transforming the country's economic landscape. So a lot has been placed on your shoulders here at CMI.
The project includes special simulators, 60 computers, communication infrastructure, and a 125 kilowatt solar energy system. The energy system will support the simulation center and meet 20% of CMI's power needs. And finally, government has equipped 3 of its community access points with solar technology to reduce electricity costs for the facilities. The Information and Communications Technology Centers are located in the Franklin Town, McGregor Gardens, and Jakes Road communities. They are financed by government through the Universal Access Fund, after which communities take on responsibility for their operation, including paying utility bills.
And by far the largest cost that the community-based organizations have to face is the cost of electricity. So this project will reduce the cost significantly. It will allow the community to provide services either at a discounted rate or even free to those persons who are the targeted persons who we want to be using computers in the country.
The government of New Zealand provided the funding to completely outfit the centers with solar technology. On a recent tour of the centers, the Science and Technology State Minister said the ministry would be assessing whether the project could be replicated in other community access points.
Because all the community access points face the same challenge of the high electricity costs. So if we can get the funding, then we'll try and see how we can roll this out.
And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Carrie Ann Smith. Thanks for watching.
Driver, slow down and stop the reckless overtaking, no?
You never hear so time is money.
Easy, driver. Well, nobody must man and taxi driver drive so bad. Why him have to drive so hard? Me not gonna make you kill off me and me picnic them.
One stop driver. Make her come off this bus. Me say stop.
Me coming with you. The rest I will not take chance in the life. Lord of mercy. That could have been us.
And look how we want the money.
Passengers, your safety is in your hands. Say one-stop driver and get off if the driver is speeding, overtaking recklessly, and not obeying the rules of the road. Don't give away your life. It is too precious.
Life in any form is a gift too precious to measure. The birth of brand new possibilities and exciting potential for whatever. For those at the early stages of this journey, it is expected that the ones who are older, those in positions of guardianship, will take the steps necessary to ensure their safety in all areas, not least of all as they travel from one destination to another.
I think every single adult who is a driver has a tremendous responsibility, not only for the safety of children, but the safety of other drivers, pedestrians. Driving comes with a tremendous responsibility, and it's up to you to remain alert, particularly when it comes to children. We are their guardians.
Children are among our most vulnerable road users. It's why the Ministry of Transport and Works, and particularly the Road Safety Unit, has spent time coming up with measures to ensure that the traffic environment for them is as safe as possible.
The law comes down very heavily on the side of children when we act irresponsibly, and as a result they are injured.
Laws like the Road Traffic Act, the Child Care and Protection Act, and the Protective Devices legislation speak to the issue in some way.
I want drivers to stop and I am at the pedestrian crossing.
Drivers who ignore the prompting of a traffic warden to stop before reaching the place where children are crossing or seeking to cross, or who put the vehicle in motion before the children have completely crossed the road, commit an offense under the Road Traffic Act. The Ministry of Transport and Works is also doing its part to ensure that pedestrian crossings are maintained, sidewalks are provided, and appropriate signs are installed, including at designated school zones.
I think parents really need to ensure that children are trained as to how to cross the road.
Our teachers, nurses, police, and all other civil servants make up what we know as the public sector. No doubt they play a vital role and are responsible for executing much of government's policies and programs to ensure that the affairs of the country are intact. And that's why government is transforming the public sector to make it more efficient to serve all of us. Hear more.
The current national and global challenge is one of the major reasons why the government of Jamaica has to accelerate the modernization and restructuring of the public sector to make the state more efficient, productive, cost-effective, and accountable. The government is now in the process of fixing the public sector to make it competitive in the local and international labor markets. It is also to provide quality service to Jamaicans and increase productivity. The Public Sector Transformation Unit has been working closely with ministries, departments, and agencies to achieve its objectives. The unit has also been having one-on-one discussions and consultations with permanent secretaries to address areas of deficiency in the public service. These include overlapping and duplication of mandates and functions, organizations and structures that are no longer relevant, shifts in mandate and core functions, laws which are outdated, and lack of appropriate ICT systems and structures. We must all support this initiative, which will improve the quality of life for this and future generations of Jamaicans.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
So you heard a short while ago how the public sector modernization program has been effective so far. We now look at another program that has not only been reforming the economy, but more important, improving lives.
Government's economic reform program is at its core about improving the living conditions of all Jamaicans.
We seek to maintain the levels of expenditures in social protection activities, which we have done.
The same commitment is made to health and education support, as government strives to give people the tools to ensure their own development. Education and training are foundations of economic development in today's world, as a skilled workforce is important to reaching high levels of production and output. Government believes this and deployed the Technical Vocational Education and Training TVET policy last year to provide a national framework for the development and sustainability of TVET in the Jamaican education and training system. As a result, new occupational programs are being offered through Heart Trust institutions. Teachers have also received training through the Heart Trust NTA and the National College of Education Leadership. The Ministry of Education, meanwhile, is transforming several secondary schools into science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM academies to prepare students for the jobs of the future.
For example, the STEM Academy at VER might offer avocations related to the sugar industry, the factory, irrigation, mechanical, and allied sugar technologies, while a St. Andrews STEM Academy may relate to ports and the logistics hub.
The immediate focus is on the 14 existing technical high schools, several Heart academies, and the Signipagan Agricultural School. Other training initiatives include the Caribbean Maritime Institute extending its course offerings to persons in Western parishes this year, in tandem with government's focus on equipping all Jamaicans with the skills needed for the global logistics hub.
This proposed escalation of the CMI mandate is to enable it to mainstream STEM related to logistics, transport, and maritime professions and avocations, and to introduce these elements into the curriculum of select STEM academies beginning at Sam Sharp.
Even as the economy is being reformed and fiscal constraints are implemented, the government is ensuring that all Jamaicans are in good health. This is beneficial to our economic pursuits, since it takes a healthy workforce to produce at the high levels needed for growth. The GOJ Health Card was recently introduced to ease the pockets of Jamaicans when visiting public health facilities and purchasing pharmaceuticals.
The card will facilitate better monitoring and identification. It will also take into account private health insurance so that instances where charges arise, we can better, adequately, and quickly deal with it.
Land and home ownership are also essential components of the economic reform program.
The access to ownership of land is what is not only going to make you and your families better, but will improve the well-being of the economy of the country.
Most recently, residents of Gravel Heights, St. Catherine and Donaldston in eastern St. Thomas were among hundreds who have benefited from government's accelerated land titling program. Through the cadastral mapping and land registration in Jamaica project, 70 persons from St. Mary, St. Anne and Portland now also hold the titles to their properties. Many more are proud homeowners because of programs such as the $2.4 billion initiative to provide housing and other social amenities for sugar workers and their families.
My administration continues to make investments in people and social development, even as we pursue our necessary strategy of fiscal prudence and debt management.
The government of Jamaica, going for growth, staying the course, and transforming the economy.
Whilst government has to lead by way of its three generic roles of enabling, facilitating, and servicing, the country needs all hands on deck to get it where it wants to and must go.
Mr. God, you know I didn't want to ask you this question a long time. Do you have a JADET card? You know, if you have a JADET card, It can save you lots of money when you go to the pharmacy.
Man, certainly, man. I have my own Gillette card, man. I've had it for quite some time now. That's helped me tremendously with my health condition.
That's nice.
Senior citizens on the Jamaica Drug for the Elderly program. Take your card to participating government or private pharmacies that display the JADEP sign. Then collect your monthly supply of approved drugs for the chronic illnesses covered by the program. To know more, call the toll-free number 1-888-GO-JADEP. That's 1-888-465-2337.
The government must stop hiding things from we. It's a comment we hear often. But the truth is, there are systems in place to ensure you and I can actually access information about what the government is doing. The key tool? The Access to Information Act, and the unit that ensures the government delivers on its provisions. Take a look.
In June 2002, Parliament passed the Access to Information Act, paving the way for the empowerment of the Jamaican citizenry and the development of a knowledge-based society. It ushered in a paradigm shift from a culture of government secrecy to one of more openness, as people gained a general right of access to official government information that would otherwise have been inaccessible. The Act allows public access to credible information so that citizens can better engage in national decision-making while ensuring that there is greater transparency in governance.
The right to access is about strengthening your other fundamental rights, your right to freedom of expression, your right to receive and impart information. And we believe that this law and a greater understanding of it will redound to the benefit of the country as a whole as we seek to achieve Vision 2030.
The Act aims to reinforce the fundamental democratic principles of a transparent government that's accountable to its people. It also supports increased public influence on and participation in national decision-making and greater knowledge of the functions of government.
Individuals, media, civil society groups, researchers, all have been able to enhance their information goals and objectives, from challenging government policy and actions to making informed inputs in policy, legislation consultation, and assessing the expenditure of public funds.
The legislation also serves as a useful tool in investigative journalism.
So, for example, when government is expending funds in relation to projects, in relation to contracts, of major contracts or even small contracts that impact upon the daily lives of individuals, they can use the law to get the information that they want, copies of contracts, to see who is the contractor, who is funding the projects, and so on.
The Access to Information Unit leads and guides the implementation and administration of the Access to Information Act, the ATI. The unit falls within the Information Division at the Office of the Prime Minister. It provides guidance and training for government bodies on how to interpret and administer the Act, identify and address difficult or problematic issues arising from implementation of the Act, and policy recommendations.
Of course, we have information that is exempt, and you can understand why we do. We have to protect certain things, people's right to privacy, and certain sensitive government information. But outside of those exempt categories, there is no reason why you cannot have access to any government information.
The ATI unit also has the task of monitoring compliance levels in the various ministries and agencies of government. It's also responsible for educating the public on their rights and obligations under the Act. So what about the cost? Well, the Act says persons can only be charged for the copy of a document, and depending on the kind of information or where it's being accessed, you may not even be faced with that charge.
Most of the government agencies, ministries, departments, they have websites, they have information officers, they have communications experts within the ministries and agencies.
In fostering a culture of knowing, the ATI unit established the Access to Information National High School Competition in 2008. It marks the celebration of International Right to Know Day, observed on September 28, and International Right to Know Week, also observed in September.
It really is to engage young people in understanding what this access to information law and right is all about, to ensure that they can think critically about governance issues. We promote access to information year-round to ensure that members of the public are aware of their rights to access government information, as well as their rights to use the law, and also their rights to appeal when decisions are taken that are adverse to them. In terms of their appeal rights, there are checks and balances in the system. So state agencies, public authorities as they're called in the Act, can deny access, but they must give specific reasons.
And of course, public authorities can face criminal sanctions for breaching the law. Going forward, the process is expected to improve.
Important though legislation is as a critical first step in a comprehensive plan to improve access to information, the fact is, if we're truly benefit, then access to information cannot be confined to a static request. Information or data accessibility must move further to embrace open data, thus placing more responsibility on government to provide the public with clear, objective, and complete information about its policies and decisions on an ongoing basis.
A new communications policy for government will meet that objective and foster even greater communication with all the different stakeholders and members of society.
And I believe that if we allow our citizens that access to the information, give it to them in a timely manner, it will help them to develop, it will help our country to develop.
The Access to Information Act, giving people the right to know and the power to make change. For more information, contact Access to Information Unit, 529 South Odeon Avenue, Kingston 10, or by email to ati@cwjamaica.com or call 968-8282.
Hurricanes can strike at any time. In the event of one, be prepared to act quickly. If a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, review your home disaster response plan. Map out likely routes to evacuate if your home is at risk, and confirm with relatives or friends you plan to stay with. Also, confirm the location of the nearest shelter. Check your emergency supplies and restock if necessary. Remember, disasters do happen, so be prepared.
Give us vision lest we perish. That's right, because without vision we will not get to the point where Jamaica truly becomes the place of choice to live, work, raise families and do business. I leave that for you to consider as we close the pages of the magazine for today. If you wish to share your feedback, then send an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm and keep in the know by visiting our website jis.gov.jm. On behalf of the hard-working production team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson, encouraging you to keep hope alive.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.